The chairman of the Kano State chapter of the PDP is also calling on the national chairman, Aniagwu, to resign immediately. Shehu Sagagi pledged to support the G5 group for insisting on justice and equity in the party.
Chief of the national body, as constituted under the leadership of Aniagwu, has proven their inability to manage the party affairs judiciously and in a just and fair manner. We urge the national chairman to please resign so that a vibrant leadership will be constituted that will ensure the victory of PDP in the next coming general election. I would like to use this opportunity also to demonstrate and to show our support to the G5 group under the leadership of Atiku, Governor of Rivers State.
Okay, we are now being joined by the spokesperson of the Atiku Presidential Campaign Council. Charles Aniagwu is also the Commissioner for Information in Delta State. Thanks very much, Charles, for joining us. Your party has so described the sealing off of the campaign office, the Atiku Presidential Campaign Office in Rivers State, following what the state government describes as non-compliance with extant law about or not using residential areas as, you know, campaign offices away from what it is. I mean, your party has reacted very strongly. What more would you want to say about this?
Well, thank you very much, Christian, and my sister Ngozi Alebu, for continuing to look at development in our polity. And I will still urge you and through you to other members of the media world to continue to x-ray these issues, because in doing so, you are helping to keep faith with the provision of the Nigerian Constitution, particularly in Section 22, that makes the primary responsibility of the media, the holding government, accountable to the people. And so if that is the case, there are a number of these issues that I want to believe that the media should beam set light on and focus more. Yes, it is true that you may want to ask those of us who are operating the political terrain to possibly express our views with respect to some of these issues. But as individuals who are saddled with that responsibility vested on you by the Constitution, particularly in Section 22 that I said earlier, to begin to examine to what extent some of these actions sit with the advancement of democracy. There are certain things that we need to begin to examine, particularly from those of you in the media, to ask questions as to why certain actions should take place. This is not a time where we have to strangulate the democratic space. For us to be able to have advancement in our democracy, the entire space needs to be open so that individuals can indeed ventilate their views and opinions, such that at the end of the day, that principle of democracy, being government of the people, by the people, and for the people, will indeed be given the necessary nexus for it to operate the way it should. And so for us, we believe it's not a healthy development for anybody, even if it's any other political party or not even our party, that is not going to be in the right, it's not going to be the right thing to do for us to, at a time where individuals are reaching out to members of the public. The reason why you have a campaign office and you have people helping you to push your agenda is to be able to open up the space so that the electorate, when they are making their choices, are going to be able to make informed choices based on available options and then, of course, available policies, and how these individuals have been able to put their policies out for the public to digest. But when you begin to strangulate that process by taking actions that are a little to a very large extent selfish and not, of course, advancing the cause of democracy, you will see that the person is not only taking action even against those he is intending to take action against. You're also taking actions to undermine the democratic rights of innocent Nigerians to be well informed about the activities and, of course, the conduct of those who are seeking to govern them. And that's why we plead with all governors, irrespective of their political parties, to try as much as possible to open up the space. These individuals came to the office via an open process where nobody strangulated the process.
Right.
We have listened to particularly our leader in Rivers saying that.
Yes, you have made a good point, but let's quickly dive in even further. Is this action on the part of the Rivers State government a veiled attempt to really directly say, look, this is where we stand, and it is not with Atiku? Recall yesterday, Wike told Nigerians that he will reveal to the world who he'll be supporting in 2023 in January. What do you make of all of this?
I am happy that you are a Nigerian and you have been in this country at least in the past 1 year. You have followed political development. You do know that Atiku won the primaries of the PDP fair and square. We have continued to plead with these leaders, and of course you heard the chairman of our campaign council expressing it very, very succinctly a while ago that we need them. And actually we don't want to hide the fact that we need everybody to come on board. But in doing so, I have also said that what we have suffered in the PDP is the danger of a single story. Apology to Chimamanda Adichie, who made it very clear that sometimes one individual continues to tell a story, another person skips where it looks as it as a true story. We didn't want to begin to tell our story because we have been searching for peace, and we will continue to search for peace, believing that at the end of the day, by doing so, we would have been able to indeed show that we want a much more united country and a country that is going to be peaceful. And so, if individuals continue to take actions to undermine the successes that were recorded by reaching out to Nigerians, and of course we have seen the mammoth crowd that usually throng the venue of our rallies. These are not persons that were rented. These are organic gathering of Nigerians who really are desirous of a new dawn, believing that in the last 7.5 years that life have not been the best that they expect when they voted in 2015. And so anybody who is taking action that will possibly foist on Nigerians the same punishment and hopelessness that we have suffered in the last 7.5 years cannot be said to be doing the best doing so in the best interest of Nigerians. But I'm quite happy that majority of Nigerians are discerning enough to be able to take their actions. So when one man wants to arrogate himself the power to decide how every Nigerian will vote, and he goes ahead to say, I will tell them where to vote for, you know that that is trying to overreach oneself. Nigerians will take their own decision, believing that that decision is going to be in their own interest.
It's okay. I mean, you've made substantial points there, but let me ask the question. Why did your party in Rivers State take the laws into its own hand by deliberately circumventing, the laws on buildings and its uses by the Rivers State government, when in its own statement, the PDP said that the application for conversion of that building to a campaign office has been in limbo? That is like circumventing the law, taking the law into its own hands. Why?
I want you, my brother Christian, to first of all examine the genesis of the executive orders you are talking about. Individuals are making executive orders, and unfortunately, it's happening even in a state governed by our party. And that's the most unfortunate aspect of it. And when you make executive orders to strangulate the political process, you are not helping the grit of democracy. It is often said, of course, we will not take that route, that those who make peaceful change impossible inevitably also ask for violence, a reaction. We will not take that particular route. We want the Nigerian people, particularly the media, to continue to point out actions that are inimical to the growth and advancement of democracy. These actions are very well known. You don't need those of us in the political space to be able to educate Nigerians on them, because the media has that responsibility to carry out education and sensitization of Nigerians such that at the end of the day, Nigerians are able to make the right decision. When you see individuals, the public space is locked up. You are asked to pay certain amounts, or ridiculous amount of money for you to use the public space. The private space, including even your own houses now, are also restricted by laws that hitherto were not in place, by laws that were not in place when individuals came to office. And you think that those laws are just something that everybody must just go ahead and begin to obey. Imagine if every state begins to behave that way and say that you can't use a primary school ground, You can't use a church ground. You can't use anywhere. And the other little spaces where you can use, you now put in an executive order so that nobody can even use anything. The only thing they have not even done is to pass an executive order where you and your wife cannot even sleep in your room. And this is not healthy for our democracy. We must be able to speak out. It is true that we want to pursue peace and we will continue to pursue peace. We believe that in the fullness of time, these are leaders who are in our party. We see reason for them to help the advancement of democracy, because it was through a democratic process that you are able to also secure the power that they have today. Any hope that
that path of peace is going to, happen sooner than later? And I'd like to know exactly the visit between Autumn and the DG of the Atiku campaign organization, of course, in the person of the Akwa Ibom State Governor, Udom Emmanuel. Is that an indication that, things may be changing, though quite slowly, but in the right direction? Are overtures still being made to Wike and his team?
Well, I can tell you one thing for sure, that the Atiku and Governor Kowa, and of course other leaders of our party, which is inclusive of the chairman of our campaign council, the DG, and many other top leaders, including the Iyorchia Ayu, are very much open to a peaceful process. They have continued to pursue that peaceful process, which is why you hardly quote them to either attack anybody or even respond to any attacks, even when it's unwarranted. You have seen the several attacks on these individuals by leaders who are supposed to demonstrate that indeed they occupy a position of responsibility. We will continue to maintain that level of decorum, because we believe that we do desire a much more peaceful country. We do desire a much more peaceful party, even as we are asking that Nigerians trust us with their mandate. We will continue to pursue the path of peace. We are also quite optimistic that a number of persons among the G5 are open to a peaceful process. You heard the Governor Tom a while ago saying that the doors are not closed. We are happy about a number of them amongst the G5 governors who are not taking actions to continue to undermine the peace process. But when you see an individual wanting to arrogate all the powers in this country to himself and threaten everybody and say nobody there, you begin to wonder whether it's this same country where all of us have been and where these powers are coming from. The police that you want to use is the federal police. And you can see the reason why sometimes some persons are actually quite skeptical about possible use of state police. When you see a threat coming from a man occupying a position of authority, a man occupying a position of responsibility, when you speak to be able to bring peace. And what you do is you are threatening everybody around you, including those who elected you. You begin to wonder what must have happened. But I do believe that in the course of time, individuals will have to re-examine where they are today, what they are doing to both the growth of our democracy and the democratic space, so that at the end of the day, in the fullness of time, but at least after May, by the grace of God, they would have been able to look back, like it is said in my community, that after the race, you count the mile. We will have cause to begin to look at the records as to what did we do to advance democracy? What did we do to show that indeed in occupying position of responsibility, that we indeed acted in line with the mandate vested on us. A governor is not a motor park leader. A governor governs everybody, including those who are ugly, those who are beautiful, those who are looking very, very wonderful.
All right, Charles.
Governor
Charles
carries
says
on him the responsibility to make everybody know that that office calls for responsibility.
Yes, indeed. Charles, thanks for your analogy there. But let's quickly go to Kano State. I am asking this even though I know you are a party member, you are the presidential spokesman of the Atiku Okowa presidential campaign office. But Kano PDP, your party again, seems to be on the boil, and they seem to be joining the G5 governors of your party to say that Iyorchia, you must go. What are your comments here?
Well, it is said that if the owl cries in the night and the child dies in the morning, in villages it is assumed that the witch was at work, and that is possibly what must have taken life out of the child. So when you see some of these dance steps in certain quarters, you know where they are coming from. Deployment of some funds and to manipulate a number of persons. When a man who is supposed to be the chairman of a party, who is supposed to be loyal to the national body of the party, you can advise, you can even make certain comment to say, please, can we settle this? But for you to take sides and undermine the institution of the party that gave you the power to become the chairman of that party, you begin to understand that so many things have gone in the wrong direction. But we are quite optimistic that in the course of time, our train is moving very fast. We have said that in the course of time, when we have the time, we will stop over our different train stations and pick up the passengers that have agreed and seen the need to join us. But for those ones that want to remain hesitant, we will continue to take steps to allow them understand that in the course of time, we will apply the brakes, and that whenever they are ready, even as we're approaching them, that we'll still be very much willing to pick them up, because in doing so, not only for the purpose of winning the election, in doing so, we would have been able to continue to build a much more united country. It's quite unfortunate, the position of the Kano State chairman of the party, but let me tell you, Kano is returning home. You do know that Kano is actually a largely PDP, apart from certain incursion that led to the APC taking over. Shekarau is a man that you know controls a whole lot of persons. He was the first in Kano to win election back-to-back. And you know what that means. And Shekarau is in our food. We're also quite optimistic that in the course of time, a number of persons in Kano will come to PDP. Kano is going in the direction of the umbrella. And so we are hoping that these are our leaders who are taking steps to undermine the successes we are making, need to begin to rethink their actions so that they become much more tactical. Because it does appear that they don't have enough tactics in what they are doing. How do you wake up and ask everybody to vote for a senator, vote for House of Reps, and you are not talking about your presidential candidate as the leader of the party? Yeah, I'm sure those of you in the media are actually analyzing these issues.
Absolutely, and that's why you're here on the show. And it does seem like the You Must Go call is gaining some level of traction. Charles Aniagwu, we'll have to leave it there. Information Commissioner, Delta State, and spokesperson of the Atiku Abubakar campaign organization.